Welcome back to another week, another day of Political Breakfast right here on WABE. We are so glad that you are here with us. I'm your host, Lisa Ram, and with me are our strategists, Brian Robinson and Tharon Johnson. I think since we last met, Governor Kemp and Trump got together and, made their appearance. When was that? Last Friday? Governor Kemp says he only cares about moving forward at this point, and if that means standing side by side with the former president, then so be it. When you saw that and when you heard that, what did you think? Tharon, I'll begin with you.
Lisa, there are moments where Brian and I get asked a lot when we're out in the public, do you guys really sort of get along? That's always the first question. Then the second question, are y'all friends? And then the third question, Lisa, is that, are these sort of elected officials, these politicians, public servants you guys talk about, are they real? And I think, what you saw from Governor Kemp was him saying, I got a job to do, right? And whether I do disagree with some of the Republican rhetoric around how there's been a lot of lies, and I want to call it what it is, Lisa, about the governor being unable to be in contact with the president or vice president. I found out a lot of information show that there was a delay, but it wasn't true what some of the Republicans are spreading. Yes, the governor was visibly upset that it did take a while, but that's just who he is. I mean, for him to stand with a man who not only insulted him personally, he insulted him politically. He talked about his wife and, made fun of them, reminded us that he would have never been governor had it not been for President Trump's support. So for him to be the bigger person and put the people of Georgia first just shows you his character, and just shows you, I'm not going to politicize it, Lisa, because I'm getting very frustrated with other people who are politicizing this disaster. It is a disaster. Shout out to the many, many organizations that have been giving food. Senator Warnock and Senator Ossoff and their staff went all across the state. And Michael Thurman, the Cobb County CEO, did this thing called a Good Neighbor Express, where he took 5,000 box lunches, food, to Augusta, went to 5 different churches. Folks in this state are starving. Folks in this state do not have water. And it's biracial. It's bipartisan. It's not just one area. It's all areas of these cities. And so was happy to see the former president and the governor together. Was also happy to see President Biden and Vice President Harris in the state last week as well. When last time we talked, we were wondering when they would come, but I'm glad they showed up. And they not only showed up, but they actually came with resources.
He certainly knows how to handle a crisis and knows what to do, has great instincts when it comes to that. And he's somebody who likes being out with the people. He likes being out in the state, away from the Capitol, away from the governor's mansion, where he can put on some jeans and some boots and sort of get out there and get your hands dirty the way he would on the farm where he and his family live. Great instincts there, and that's played huge political dividends for him, because when you think about what his legacy is going to be, you don't really think so much about policy. You do think to some degree about economic development, but he's really been defined by the crises that he has faced, that being COVID, that being the 2020 election that came down to 12,000 votes, where he had to make some really important decisions that had massive national and international consequences. And as we come into the last few weeks of this election, I don't think there's still a lot of love lost between Kemp and Trump. I don't think anybody is pretending otherwise. We have to see this through the lens of self-interest properly understood. It is in Brian Kemp's best interest that Trump win Georgia and win it by a healthy margin. Think of it through that framing. And he is, as always, a very agile and a wily political operator.
With the focus on the 2024 presidential race, though, Tharon, what did this appearance do? Did it put a dent in the Democratic race? Did it hurt Kamala's chances here in Georgia?
Look, I mean, golly, it's just so hard to this is a political podcast, so we have to always talk about the political angle. But Lisa, you know me very well. I just hate that, and again, not the president didn't do it, the vice president didn't do it, and neither did the governor. Trump started it, right, by going to Valdosta earlier the first time, and he politicized his visit. Seriously. I mean, I'm just going to call balls and strikes. If he had went to Valdosta and just said, hey, this is horrific, this is a massive disaster, I want to He using terms like it got wetter. This hurricane was wetter than other ones, and some of his media. If he had just kept the politics out of it, he started it. He said that I'm being told that the president is not responding to Governor Kemp. A lie, just a blatant lie. So then when that happens, Lisa, as you've been a journalist for, decades, then you have to respond and protect yourself. So I was very happy that the vice president went to Augusta. She worked with the local mayor. Shout out to the mayor. And she wasn't disruptive. And I also, going to applaud the governor for keeping it as factual as he can and as objective as he can. But ultimately, it's what we do now. This is not over. There's more money that needs to come to the state. And I think that they got to work with the congressional delegation. I was very happy to see there was a bipartisan letter that went out last week from all the members of the congressional delegation to get more funding. And so I think that's how the federal agencies and the president and the vice president can respond to help the people in need in Georgia.
What do y'all think about this notion that it's too late for another debate? You have former President Trump coming to Gas South Arena in Gwinnett later in the month. He's headlining a campaign rally there. I think it's October 23rd. You have Harris coming to town as well. And, he just says there just isn't enough time for us to debate. She wants to challenge him to another debate. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I think Democrats are going to say, oh, Donald Trump knows he got beat in the last debate and he's too chicken and doesn't want to do it. The way I read it is Donald Trump and his team think he's ahead. They think that they are going to win this thing by a hair, and they don't want to take any chances. Let's just write it on out. Let's not give them a platform where they have the ability to change the dynamics of this race. That said, I feel that way partly because when the Democrats talk about Donald Trump's never scared of a debate. I mean, I'm shocked to some degree that he's turning down the chance to command the attention of 70 million people. He loves that stage. He loves being able to do that. And he always thinks he wins, even if the voters themselves say otherwise. So I don't think it's that. I think in his mind, he thinks he would win. He thinks he won last time and he's going to win again. So I think what you're seeing is a strategic decision, and it shows you a little bit of their inside thinking.
Lisa, I respectfully disagree. We all saw what happened. We saw a confident, smart, qualified woman walk across the stage and set the tone with shaking his hand. We saw her win that debate. She won it by being factual and being substantive, right? But she finally got Donald Trump on the defense. She attacked his insecurities, right? She talked about things that he cared deeply about, his wealth, his relationships. But I disagree with you, Rob. I think that his team does not want to make him go through that horrific experience again. He will completely blow it. I think that right now, if you look at 4 out of the 6 battleground states, the race is tightening. And so a debate will cement her victory. Now, we got to be very careful what we ask for. What's keeping me up at night with less than 30 days to go, Lisa, and you always ask me kind of what do we see? The excitement is there. It's going to come down to the ground games. Kamala Harris doesn't have a money problem. She will go down as raising probably more money than any Democratic nominee for president. How they're allocating that money, who's on the ground, how you get people out to vote, keeping people engaged, that is going to be the deciding factor, not whether or not they debate it again or not.
What are we going to see from Trump in terms of a ground game, Brian?
This is the question that national media is constantly calling me about is there any evidence in Georgia of a ground game? And a week ago, I went to a reception held for all of the grassroots young people, young adults who are doing the grassroots operation for Trump and for various other conservative-aligned organizations. I took my phone out and took a video of them and sent it to numerous national D.C.-based reporters saying, y'all keep asking me about whether or not these people exist. Here they are in the flesh. They all feel pretty good about where Georgia is for Trump. So the ground game has been much more operational than the media wants to give the Trump and other aligned groups credit for. I think the biggest thing for both sides right now is some really crucial counties have a lot of voters who have a hole in their roof or don't have power or don't have water. Maybe they are staying with relatives or staying at a hotel somewhere out of town. I think that's the bigger issue when it comes to the get out the vote operation, is targeting those folks who who you know are Democrats, or you know they're Republicans, or you want to turn them out for your side, figuring out if they're home.
So that needs to be the messaging. Come to Georgia, stump and talk about recovery efforts.
Yes, you got to talk about it. I think that Augusta area, correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, Valdosta, all these areas we're talking about are represented by a Republican member of Congress, right? And so I hope that there's a level of cooperation, Lisa, where when the president, the vice president, and FEMA comes in to try to provide this relief, that these congressional members will put people first and not politics. How do we win in 2020? Well, we did a better job than Republicans did in getting votes out early. We utilized the drop boxes that are gone now. Well, not all of them, Rob. Let me be fair. They're still there. They're not as accessible as they were during the pandemic. We learned how to get people out to vote during a deadly pandemic. Now what we got to do, and this is why I think Democrats are well positioned. We've been here longer in Georgia than the Trump campaign. We got more offices. We got more volunteers. We have more staff. We've been doing it longer. They've already identified those folks, Lisa. They are in a database. They know how they vote. They know when they vote and where they vote. Now you got to utilize the ground game, the local people on the ground to get them out to vote. And I think that we did it during the deadly pandemic. We'll do it during this natural disaster. But Ryan makes a good point. These are Augusta is a battleground county. We got to dominate Augusta.
As far as how this is handled over the next few weeks, yes, it must be mentioned. It'll certainly impact where campaigns can go. You're not going to go have a rally in a place that's got its hands full with emergency responses. But I believe we also have a federal budget issue. It's got to get renewed again before the end of the year. Maybe adding some disaster relief funds will bring on some of these conservative Republicans that Tharon's talking about to support a continuing resolution to make sure that we get money into the hands of these areas that need it, get money into FEMA, and then distribute it out.
Here we are in October. Any rumblings of a possible October surprise for either candidate?
Well, now will be about the time. I don't know of anything. Tharon, you know of anything?
You two are behind the sings.
Yeah, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. There's going to be some very sexist, inappropriate things said about Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm just warning the voters, right? And it's not going to probably come directly from the Trump campaign. It's going to be a super PAC. It's going to be some independent expenditure. There's going to probably be some things again said to distort her record. I mean, just look at the ads that are on television right now in Georgia, Lisa. I mean, you see them. I see them. I mean, it is horrible what they're saying about Kamala Harris, and it's only going to get worse. It will be two surprises. I think that there will be one that the campaigns are anticipating. They'll be able to respond pretty quickly. And Brian likes to remind us all the time, Lisa, that if Mitt Romney had not been taped saying what he said in 2012, now I'm biased. I think we still would have won because I was on that campaign for Obama. But you will have another moment that will happen. So let me repeat this. The campaigns will strike either through a third party or, themselves. And then you're going to have someone say something or someone's going to interject something and somebody's going to respond inappropriately. And then those are going to be probably our two big surprises that will happen. And then you'll have a flurry of things going out the last week of the campaign of just scaring people, the fear mongering that goes on every single time around these national elections from the Republican Party.
Right. Because Democrats don't ever do that. They don't ever say things like, "Oh, the Republicans can take away Medicare and Social Security." Oh, right. Yeah. I'll tell you the most. I don't know what the October surprise is. We did see one in our neighboring state of North Carolina, where CNN did the big report on the Republican nominee, Mark Robinson. That probably ended any hope that he had of winning the governorship there. One thing to look at nationally is what impact will that have on the Trump campaign in North Carolina? Will it suppress any Republican vote? People just don't show up. That could be damaging. I don't think it's going to be a lot because people vote for the top of the ticket in a presidential race. So, but that's something to see. Nothing like that happening here so far. I disagree with Tharon that Trump's going to say something that's going to change the dynamic. That kind of stuff with Trump's already baked in. That what Romney said about the 46% that got taped and became this thematic of the entire campaign that I Obama am for you and he's for them, the rich. like that just doesn't seem to work against Trump in any way. He says stuff like that all the time. I mean, and none of it, it's all baked in. So I don't think there's anything that he can say that's going to make a big difference. I think everyone thought in 2016 when the Access Hollywood tape came out, that was an October surprise, just a couple of weeks out. And he was able to survive that. So I just don't see that happening. I don't know what it would have to do that would shock Americans so much that it would make a difference in the Trump coalition, because it seems to be impervious to a lot of these things that would have killed other candidacies.
Real quickly, so think about what we're not hearing much from the Republicans right now with less than 30 days to go. We're not hearing that there's this huge, crazy crisis at the border. It's still a crisis, right? But you see that the numbers are going dual crossing, right? The Biden administration has done a better job. Still can do more, B-Rob, but doing a better job. Guess what we're also not hearing as much? We're hearing that the economy is getting a little bit better. Inflation is still relevant, but it's not as bad. Housing rates are going down. We saw one Fed cut, right? We'll probably get another federal rate cut before the election. The reason I bring this up is that this is what dominated the Republican attacks 2 months ago, right? Even maybe a month ago. If the economy continues to improve with a realization that inflation is still real, people are hurting. We see today in Atlanta, we have a housing crisis, right? People don't have enough affordable housing. Our mayor is doing a fantastic job with that. Lisa, you're not seeing the Republicans be able to show evidence of all this chaotic chaos and fear mongering they talk about at the border. I mean, if those things continue to go well, and if Vice President Harris continues to just be strong and reaching out to her base in the middle, we win this. And all those things have got to continue to go in the right direction, because they're going to be very pivotal in what the American voters are thinking about when they go to the polls, starting really, really soon.
All right. Well, we are down to the wire. 30 days to go. Still a lot to talk about. Nice chatting with you. Next week.
Sounds good. Bye, guys.
Thank you.